So as we all know, Joe Biden has officially dropped out of the re-election campaign. At first, I was of the opinion that I thought Biden was still going to be the most viable option. Clearly, I was wrong, although I never really came out and strongly said, like, Joe Biden is our only way forward. I do believe, though, that I was thinking it wouldn't be very possible, really, to switch up the candidates now. Clearly, I was wrong, though. So anyway, I thought Biden wouldn't drop out. I was wrong. I take the fat L on that, okay? Biden did drop out, which, all things considered, that's probably for the best because the man seemed like he was about to disintegrate the minute he took a sip of McDonald's Sprite. So, like, we needed a better candidate from the get-go. Now, Kamala Harris has now been endorsed by Joe Biden, and she is likely to accept the nomination, of course. To be fair, when I first heard this, I wasn't all that thrilled either, just because I have seen some of Kamala's speeches, and they weren't always that great. You know, a lot of the famous speeches or the clips that we've seen where she's like, tomorrow we can work to build a better today so that tomorrow our future will be the better for the past. And like, we've all heard her kind of go on like these weird tangents. So I didn't have all that much confidence at first. But now, all things considered, I don't think Kamala Harris is going to be that bad of an option at all. And she does bring far more energy and a degree of toothiness and edginess that Biden did not have. So the first thing I will address, of course, is Kamala Harris's controversial past, because she used to be a prosecutor, and of course that led to her prosecuting people, locking people up for drug offenses and other things that nowadays a lot of people, particularly progressives, would not be very fond of. She really did begin her work with criminal justice around the same time that the tough on crime policies were really big. So some of the controversy does stem from that, with her trying to support this tough on crime era at the same time that she was trying to, as she said, reform the system from within. Now, of course, like I said, regardless of her attempts to reform the system from within, she also contributed to some of the negatives within the criminal justice system. But at the end of the day, what are Kamala Harris's current views of criminal justice now? She's far more progressive. She's far more in favor of progressive prison reforms. But also, there are supporters of hers that will argue that when she was involved in the criminal justice system, she also did make some pretty powerful change, such as when she implemented prison diversion programs as district attorney and a, quote, first of its kind racial bias for training for police officers. So you can complain about Kamala's past and the fact that she did something bad or she was contradictory here. Fine, she was, I know. However, as president, she is not likely to do things that are very harsh. She is not likely to re-upholster these tough on crime policies the same way that Donald Trump is. Donald Trump and the Republicans are set on this law and order, tough on crime kind of shit. They don't want prison reforms. So you're not going to get prison reform with Trump. But with Kamala Harris, you might. From the beginning of Harris's career in the criminal justice system, she said she saw herself as a progressive working within a system she wanted to change. At the table where the decisions are made, she told the New York Times Magazine in 2016. She started out working at prosecutors' offices in the late 1980s and early 90s, and then became San Francisco's district attorney, the top prosecutor for the city in 2004. Let me ask you a simple question. Does the prosecutor or the district attorney make the laws? No? Okay, then she really didn't do all that much. She enforced fucked up broken laws. You can go that far. But to act like she incarcerated people for drug offenses, no, that was the war on drugs. The attorney district general can only do so much within the overall federal law. Here is what really matters. You can look at her past, we can complain about her past. However, in the Senate, when it comes to the actual policy positions, Harris has championed criminal justice reform. Since her Senate campaign in 2016, Harris has tried to avoid the faulty parts of her record and instead emphasize the reforms she supported and implemented over the years. She has adopted sweeping rhetoric about the criminal justice system, arguing that it needs to be systematically changed. Her presidential primary campaign website characterized her as, quote, for the people, speaking truth, demanding justice, and fighting to fix our broken criminal justice system. So that's the first thing I wanted to address about Kamala Harris and her past in general. And then, of course, I wanted to go over some of the most insane reactions to her now being put on the ticket. First and foremost, I will say this. According to a new exclusive poll, Harris leads Trump 44% to 42% in US presidential race, according to a recent Reuters poll. So that's interesting. Of course, Trump's campaign is coping and arguing that, well, it's just because she's getting a lot of media attention. That's why her poll numbers are up. Okay, sure, whatever. Either way, this shows right here that Kamala Harris is a very viable option. So now we know that Kamala Harris's past isn't quite as controversial as people might make it out to be, and we are now familiar with the fact that Kamala Harris seems to be a very viable option for the Democrats to actually challenge Donald Trump. Now that we know these things, it shouldn't be that surprising to you that the Republicans in general are in major cope meltdown mode. This is a really interesting, now this is an opinion piece, but it is based on real data pieces. We studied attacks on women candidates. Nobody got it worse than Kamala Harris. The intent of this content is clear: to humiliate Harris and undermine her credibility and fitness for office. There was a study investigating gendered abuse and disinformation against female political candidates. Over 2 months, we found 336,000 pieces of abuse or disinformation targeting just 13 candidates across 6 social media platforms. It didn't matter if they were Democrat or Republican. These women were subjected to sex-based falsehoods and hate that their male counterparts were not. Of all the abuse and disinformation that we identified, 78% targeted Harris, then a U.S. Senator from California seeking the Democratic nomination. We've seen a bunch of rumors about Kamala Harris, how she slept her way to the top or something. Not true. We're seeing a bunch of fake pictures of her with Epstein or her with other people and calling her a call girl and shit. All fake. All not true. So let's go over some of these pathetic reactions. So this one is what was really good. I had to save this one. Perhaps Kamala Harris is part of the reason the client list hasn't been fully released. Of course, a very, very fast Google search. Kamala Harris Epstein photo. Photo appearing to show Kamala Harris with Jeffrey Epstein is fake. Okay. Wow. Good try, Republicans. Next. CA State Speaker Willie Brown with high-end call girl Kamala Harris. Again, another quick search would show you that this is false. What happened is Kamala Harris entered a consensual relationship with the California State Speaker. Some people try to lie and say that she was sleeping with a married man. He may have been married on paper, but he was estranged from his wife for well over 10 years. Furthermore, she was never a call girl, and this text here is completely fake. Of course, Cassandra McDonald, who is a massive piece of shit, she tweets, "It's so weird that Kamala has no children, too busy ladder climbing, I guess. I don't believe people without kids should be running the country, no actual skin in the game." First and foremost, is she aware that George Washington didn't have kids? She is, and you know what her response is? Well, actually, George Washington had adopted kids. Kamala Harris has 2 stepkids. And then look, this is really funny. As soon as she gets called out, she moves the goalpost. All the Dems who just learned tonight that George Washington didn't have kids are replying. Okay, how is this? Women shouldn't even be politicians. Okay, so it has nothing to do then with people not having kids or anything like that? You just don't like women and think women shouldn't be politicians? She's black, she's a woman is not a good enough reason for me to endure another 4 years of communism. Sorry. Communism? What? Do these people know what that word means? Clearly they don't, but I mean, honestly, that's just fucking embarrassing. Communism? Joe Biden? Are you literally saying Joe Biden was implementing communism? I can't believe that the last 4 years of Biden has turned America into Cuba. And then this, of course, was when I started going back and forth with this Cassandra girl. I said, I like how you move the goalpost the minute you're exposed, because she's like, okay, women shouldn't even be in politics. She like changed the argument. Then she responds, Washington did have 2 adopted children, though. It was more just an addition to my thought. Used any women as meat shields lately? And I said, Kamala has 2 stepkids. What's your response now? I never used anyone as a shield, but if you're offering, I'd be more than happy to use you. And then she unironically said, 16 and 19 when she married her dad doesn't count. They weren't even kids. I, of course, responded and I was like, wait, you think that 16 isn't a kid? I'd hate to know what kind of laws you've broken. So, yeah, basically this is just a shameless plug for my Twitter, okay? Of course, libs of TikTok had something to say. They want this woman to be president? Let's find out. What is it?
Poor hubby. Poor hubby. Nah.
Okay, is this just like concrete evidence that nothing sends conservatives into seething fits of rage more than people laughing, having a good time, smiling, joy? Ugh! Oh, the horror. The Democrats actually want to elect a human as president? Somebody who laughs? Who even isn't afraid to chuckle? Ooh. Let me get my pearls. Now, of course, those were just a few of some of the stupid fuck reactions on Twitter, but of course, Ben Shapiro was here to drop by and let us know what he thinks. Of course, the guy who's going to take the cake in all this is going to be Ben Shapiro, right? Of course. He posted this video here. Kamala's first day of campaigning did not go well. Pretty much every time you speak, it doesn't go well, but alas, here you go again.
So last night, Kamala Harris did a campaign event. It was really for her own staffers, and she led off by praising Joe Biden. This, by the way, is going to be the chief vulnerability for Kamala Harris. We'll discuss all of her vulnerabilities in a moment. She is not a strong candidate, but her chief vulnerability is she's the vice president of a wildly unpopular administration. This administration does not have a list of accomplishments Americans like. It is amazing to watch all these people come out of the woodwork and declare that Joe Biden actually has been an amazing president. Now, a minute ago...
So far, we haven't heard a single fact. Here's a fact for you, okay? How come under Joe Biden's presidency, wages surpassed inflation? Why is that? Over the past year, wages have outpaced inflation. Wages have outpaced inflation over the last 2 years. Meanwhile, it was Trump's tax cuts that actually set the stage for today's inflation, which made everything even worse. So if wages have exceeded inflation under Joe Biden, but Trump's policies made the inflation worse, why are you saying Joe Biden didn't do anything and that Trump would somehow be better?
Now, a minute ago, they said he was really bad at presidenting. Then he dropped out, and suddenly he's an amazing president. Why? Well, they have to flip the narrative. If it turns out he's a crappy president, and that Kamala Harris is his crappy vice president, well, then probably she's not a very good candidate. So here is Kamala Harris at the campaign event last night, suggesting that Joe Biden has a legacy of accomplishments.
Our president, Joe Biden, wanted to be here today. He is feeling much better and recovering fast, and he looks forward to getting back on the road. And I wanted to say a few words about our president. Joe Biden's legacy of accomplishment over the past 3 years is unmatched in modern history.
Oh, boy. How'd you like 4 years of that? Maybe 8 years of that. Would you love that? Would you love 8 years of that right there?
Is Ben Shapiro making fun of somebody else's voice right now? The man with the perpetual helium voice is trying to make fun of somebody else's voice.
By the way, his accomplishments are burning the Middle East to a crisp, lighting Ukraine on fire, destroying the economy.
Lighting Ukraine on fire? I thought that everybody was mad at Biden because he was funding Ukraine. I thought everybody was mad at Biden because he was giving so much fucking money to Ukraine. And they were all saying, what about our people? What about Americans? But now you're mad that Biden didn't do enough for Ukraine? What? Second of all, what do you mean burning the fucking Middle East? I'm pretty sure Israel's doing that. And you support Israel, Ben. You support cooking the Middle East to an absolute crisp.
Destroying the economy via inflation.
Huh. Funny he brought up inflation when wages have actually surpassed inflation and Trump was the one who set the stage for inflation, but go off, King.
Destroying whatever possibility there was of building of social fabric through radical social policy. I mean, truly, name the magical accomplishments.
What? So basically, Biden did all these things that he actually never did, and then he also destroyed the social fabric of our country? Wasn't Trump like super divisive? Wasn't Trump the one who was saying that Democrats are like evil election stealers? Does anybody here remember when Trump was constantly calling COVID the China virus, which was then leading to a bunch of Chinese Americans being assaulted and discriminated against? Yeah, it sure seems like Trump was the one who actually greatly negatively impacted the social fabric of this country. But again, Ben Shapiro, swarmy, weaselly little face, he's got to get up here, bitch, lie, and whine, and now he's just up here again lying.
So what is her campaign against Donald Trump going to be? She says that she's going to prosecute Trump. Honestly, like, really, this is all you got in the can? Seriously, this is what you got? So Democrats have been trying this crap since 2015. Since 2015, the idea has been Donald Trump is an out-of-the-box criminal, and we are going to prosecute the case against Donald Trump. Okay, guys.
It's funny that Trump's been indicted so many times then, huh? Gee, sounds a lot like Ben Shapiro's coping here. Democrats are always saying that Trump is a criminal. 34 felony counts later. The Democrats, they are convinced that Trump is a criminal. He is one.
Guys, good luck with that. Seriously. Kamala Harris.
Thank you for the wishing. Thank you for the good luck wishes, Shapiro. I appreciate it. So far, the Democrats have been doing pretty damn well indicting Trump for all kinds of things. So I'm sure your wish of good luck will go quite far. Thank you.
They are trying to make fetch happen by selecting Kamala Harris. And she is trying to make fetch happen by going after Donald Trump on a prosecutorial basis. This is the kind of stuff that jazzes up a very, very small wing of the Democratic base and literally no one else. Here's Kamala Harris.
In the days and weeks ahead, I, together with you, will do everything in my power to unite our Democratic Party, to unite our nation, and to win this election. You know, as many of you know, before I was elected as vice president, before I was elected as United States Senator, I was the elected Attorney General, as I've mentioned, of California, and before that I was a courtroom prosecutor. In those roles, I took on perpetrators of all kinds. Predators who abused women, fraudsters who ripped off consumers, cheaters who broke the rules for their own gain. So hear me when I say, I know Donald Trump's type.
Ben is coping so hard. Like, that is such a solid statement. The fact that she's using the fact that she used to be a prosecutor and now is going to be going against Trump, the fucking convicted felon, that was brilliant. I don't even know what Ben Shapiro is going to say here, but I know it's going to be major cope, because that is a banger line. That's good, powerful rhetoric, and it reaches people. Shapiro knows this, and he's fucking desperate.
No, she's going to prosecute the president of the...
Oh my god, it's even a bigger cope than I was expecting. I thought he was at least going to say something, but no, he just mocked her voice. Okay. Whew. Okay, wow, Ben Shapiro, guys. The facts over feelings, everybody. Wow. Can we get a round of applause here for Ben Shapiro? I think his juice box spilled and he's sad.
She was a really bad prosecutor, by the way. If you don't believe me, go watch episode 1 of our series Kamala, which is all about Kamala Harris. You can go watch that over at Daily Wire Plus right now when you use that.
Do you want the truth about the statement I'm saying? Well, you can sign up for my premium subscription website where you can then watch all the facts. You see, over here on the Daily Wire channel, you get feelings for free, but you gotta pay for the facts. Hell yeah.
47% off and become a subscriber. Again, it's everything you need to know 2 weeks ago, which is why we cut that. We were prepared for Kamala Harris to be the nominee full on 2 weeks ago, which is why we cut that series. Okay, that is not... Okay, try it. Seriously, try it. You're going to prosecute... Donald Trump has 100% name recognition. 100%. No one's perception of Donald...
So did Biden. Biden had a bunch of name recognition also, and you were saying that he didn't have a chance and everything else. What does name recognition necessarily have to do with this?
Trump is going to change from here on out. The question is, can Kamala Harris generate any enthusiasm? And honestly, I haven't seen so much fake enthusiasm for anything in American public life since Beyonce dropped her last album. The amount of fake ersatz enthusiasm Democrats are trying to gin up, and you can feel it. You can feel
the amount of fake hype the Democrats are trying to conjure up. Meanwhile, the recent exclusive Reuters poll just found that Harris is leading Trump. Their fake enthusiasm. Listen, guys, this is basically Ben Shapiro right now, okay? You need to stop the Democrats' fake enthusiasm, okay? They're so fake, so fakely enthusiastic that they might all just go and fake vote for Kamala and get her to be president over Trump, okay? Their fake enthusiasm is leading them to go vote.